Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're setting the stage for an absolutely mind-bending journey. We are going to be exploring some deeply profound concepts derived from the work of Dr. Demartini, specifically regarding our true place in this vast, infinite universe. Now, if you've ever looked up at the night sky and just wondered what it all means, or maybe you felt totally overwhelmed by the sheer scale of reality, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to unpack some really complex ideas about existence, biology, and the structure of the cosmos, and see if they can fundamentally shift how we view our everyday lives.
So, I want you to really think about this direct, provocative question right now. Are you massively significant, or are you completely insignificant? It feels kind of like a trick question, right? But this is the core paradox of the human experience. I mean, we spend our lives building careers, fostering relationships, and creating legacies, feeling incredibly important. But then a single glance at a deep space telescope image can make us feel like a literal speck of dust. This immense tension between feeling like you're everything and feeling like you're nothing is exactly the reality we're about to explore.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. The Scale of Enlightenment, a Cosmic Perspective. We're going to test the human concept of enlightenment against the sheer, unfathomable scale of the cosmos. Because, when we talk about having it all figured out, we really have to ask, figured out from what vantage point?
To really grasp this, we need to take a literal cosmic zoom. Imagine starting right here on step 1, Earth. You might feel like you've got a pretty good handle on your neighborhood, your city, maybe even global politics. But then, whoosh, you zoom out to step 2, the Sun. Over 1 million Earths could fit inside the Sun. The rules and the scale have completely changed. Now, zoom out again to step 3, the Milky Way galaxy, a swirling disk of hundreds of billions of suns. And finally, zoom all the way out to step 4, the cosmic web. Out here, entire galaxies are just tiny glowing nodes connected by vast filaments of dark matter across distances so huge that light takes billions of years to cross them. Dr. Demartini argues that moving our perspective from Earth all the way out to this cosmic web essentially proves that our everyday understanding is fundamentally limited.
And this brilliantly illustrates a really important idea. Any claim of being fully enlightened is entirely relative. It's relative to the specific scale from which you're observing the universe. If you claim to have total understanding, the universe kind of just looks at you and asks, okay, but at what scale? You might be enlightened on the scale of a human life on Earth, but be entirely ignorant to the physics of the cosmic web. Enlightenment isn't some fixed finish line. It actually shifts depending on how wide you open your lens.
Moving on to Section 2, the significance paradox, cosmic versus subatomic. Let's transition down from the macroscopic, mind-numbing vastness of space back to the middle ground of the human experience. This brings us to a deep psychological tension that we all carry around every single day, the tension between feeling incredibly tiny and feeling unbelievably huge.
Now, what's really interesting here is the incredible contrast. On one hand, looking at the cosmic scale, humans are completely, mathematically insignificant. We are a fraction of a speck. Yet, look at the flip side. If we shift our perspective to the subatomic scale, down to the cells, the molecules, the atoms, and the quarks that make up your body, you are massively significant. To put that into perspective, there are more atoms in a single cell of your body than there are stars in the entire Milky Way galaxy. That is wild. To a subatomic particle, you are an entire universe. You're a walking, breathing galaxy of biological processes. We exist perfectly suspended right between these two extremes.
So the ultimate goal here definitely isn't to fall into a state of existential dread or despair about our tiny cosmic footprint. Instead, Dr. Demartini suggests we have to embrace both sides of this coin. We need to embrace our pertinence, our massive significance on the smaller scales, and simultaneously embrace our importance, our insignificance on the cosmic scale. Holding both of these truths at the exact same time is what allows us to stay grounded. It stops our egos from inflating too large, but it also prevents depression from making us feel worthless. It's the balance that allows us to continue growing.
Which leads us to Section 3, coping with fear, specifically mortal extinction. Let's be totally realistic for a moment and look at the psychological implications of this. How does contemplating that vast, crushing cosmic insignificance actually make you feel on a biological level? Well, for most of human history, staring into the infinite void has triggered a very specific, very primal fear. To deal with that intense fear, humanity developed what are known as eschatologies. That's essentially a theological term for theologies of the end times. For thousands of years, across nearly every single culture, humanity has constructed these elaborate narratives about how the world will end, final judgments, apocalyptic conclusions, the whole shebang.
These stories were built to put a frame around the vast, terrifying unknown.
So the crucial point is that Dr. Demartini views these eschatologies not as literal prophecies, but as biological coping mechanisms. Your brain is hardwired for survival, right? And the amygdala, the fear center of your brain, creates these end times narratives, basically as an anxiety-reducing construct. It's desperately trying to handle the terrifying mortal fear of extinction and that overwhelming sense of insignificance we just talked about. By creating a story with a definitive end, the amygdala gives your mind a sense of control over an uncontrollable infinite reality.
And that brings us to Section 4, the hidden order, a magnificent discovery. Recognizing the biological trick of the brain is the very first step toward freedom. We're now going to introduce the major paradigm shift of this explainer. We're going to guide our perspective away from those linear, fear-based ideas of doom and move toward a much more empowering, grounded understanding of how the universe actually operates.
I really want you to absorb this quote from Dr. Demartini. He describes reality as an infinite universe with an infinite number of complementary opposites at all scales of being. It's just profoundly beautiful. The universe is not some ticking clock winding down to a catastrophic end. Rather, it's an eternal sphere of perfect balance. For every force, there's a counterforce. For every creation, there is destruction. These complementary opposites exist everywhere, for all eternity, keeping the cosmos in a state of dynamic equilibrium.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an incredibly uplifting concept. Because the universe is perfectly balanced, it constantly provides us with an eternal opportunity. Our role isn't to just sit around and wait for the end. Our role is to discover this magnificent hidden order. And when we actually recognize that balance, when we see the synthesis of those complementary opposites, Dr. Demartini defines that exact experience as love. And the absolute best part? This hidden order, this experience of love, it's available to you at any scale. Whether you're studying the microscopic quantum vacuum or observing giant galactic clusters, it's right there.
This completely reframes existence for us. We're contrasting the old illusion with a powerful new reality. The old way of thinking was a linear path toward future salvation. Waiting for some end-time event to finally bring meaning or rescue humanity. But the new perspective? It's an ever-present, participatory experience of discovering the divine right now. You literally do not have to wait for the end of the timeline to find meaning. The meaning is already woven into the fabric of reality at this exact moment, just waiting for you to notice it. Which brings us to the final question I want to leave you with today. How will you participate in discovering the divine hidden order today? You now know that you are both a cosmic speck and a subatomic giant. You know that fear of the unknown is just your biology trying its best to protect you. So take a look at your immediate surroundings right now. Look at your relationships, your challenges, the nature outside your window. How can you actively participate in finding the synthesis of opposites, finding that love, and discovering this magnificent hidden order today? The universe is waiting for you to explore it.